Hello, good evening.
Good evening,
Thank
ma'am.
you for
Good
joining
evening,
us
ma'am.
today. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
So we just start in 2 minutes.
Sure.
So while others are joining in, let's do a quick check-in, a quick wrap-up about yesterday's session. Anyone who had missed it yesterday, or any questions if you have, you can go ahead ask me.
Yeah, ma'am, I missed the session, but I was told that, I was told that I would be getting the recording, so that would not be a
It's been
problem.
mailed today, maybe half an hour
Okay,
back.
ma'am.
You can check.
Okay, okay. All right.
Those who
Thank you so much.
registered, they have received the mail. They must be receiving the mail. And just check all folders in case it has gone to spam.
Sure,
Ma'am, I
ma'am.
missed yesterday's one. Will it be available on your YouTube?
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. It's already uploaded, ma'am. You can go and check.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so we start off today's session. A very warm welcome to all of you and good evening to all of you. So today we'll just do a quick wrap up about what we did yesterday and what we are going to do today itself. So about yesterday's session, any reflections before we start off with the main session today? Any reflections? And in the meanwhile, maybe if people don't have the proper materials, you can just quickly go whatever you have handy. Many of you may not have all the art materials at home right now available. So it's okay. Do not fret on that. We'll discuss it and maybe you can do it a little later. Okay, so crayons and watercolor, pencil colors, sketch pens, certain coloring pens, these different mediums, whichever medium you have handy right now, you can just quickly go and get them.
Ma'am, can white sheets do?
Yes, yes. But preferably what we did yesterday was create a journal, art journal. If you can do it there, it would be great.
I don't have an art journal currently. Can I just do on white sheets and bind it
Yes,
later
yes,
on?
absolutely, absolutely. What y'all can do is, if you're not comfortable making an art journal or buying one, you can just take A4 sheets, maybe fold it into half or use the entire sheet, and then thread it together or staple it together at the end of 10 days, because that's going to be your portfolio even for future use or future reference. If you want to refer back as to what the procedures were, you can quickly go back and do that. You can also show it as a sample to your clients if you're taking up art therapy sessions, so that generally comes very handy. I'm going to show you today how to log in certain things in your art journal as well towards the end, okay, end of the pages, so that you have everything together. All
I
right.
have
So,
a question.
yes, Adrita, please go ahead.
Actually, I missed yesterday's session, and I just want to ask what is the criteria to become an art therapist?
See, criteria basically in India, there are no regulatory bodies. So, if you're calling yourself an art therapist, that's something which is not very ethical. Okay, so generally people use art therapist. I'm an art therapist and this and that, but it's safer to use art-based therapist or practicing art therapist. These are the terms which we generally use. And to become an art therapist, basically, you have to have a psychology background, preferably a master's. Then you do your certificate and diploma courses, you get those certifications done, after which you need to practice and get supervision also. Okay, at least for 2 years. And those who are practicing full-time counseling as a counselor or a clinical psychologist or a school psychologist, it is required that you have 1.5 hours every month of supervision for at least a year. Okay, so this is
Thank
the
you, ma'am.
general criteria. But as you don't have a very strict rule to be followed to become an art therapist in India. Abroad, it's a totally different, perspective altogether. So if you want to become an art therapist, you go for vigorous training courses. Those are for 2 to 3 years. Okay, it's more like master's level.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am, you are doing this doodle therapy, like
Mhm.
therapy and mandala as a therapy. Are they also be counted as a art-based therapist?
Not exactly, because art-based therapists incorporate a lot of things. It's not only about doodles and mandalas. See, doodles and mandalas are part of the entire curriculum. Okay, but
That
if you
as a
want to become a holistic art-based therapist, you need to incorporate all the methods also. See, in art therapy, there is also something called art-based CBT. Okay, so if you are, practicing CBT, you can also incorporate art-based techniques. That also gives an edge. So there are lots of strategies. Doodle is there. Then parts of handwriting analysis also comes into scribble analysis and doodle analysis. Then you have your metaphor therapy, which also incorporates drawing analysis, guided visual imagery techniques, which also incorporates art-based techniques. So these are a few areas on which you need to work on, along with psychometric assessment tools, which are art based.
Ma'am, can I ask something?
Yes, ma'am, please go ahead.
Ma'am, what is there are like two kinds of courses that I've seen. One is counseling and guidance, diploma in counseling
Mhm.
and guidance, and another is diploma in psychological counseling. What is the difference
Mhm.
between these two? Like, is there any difference?
See, these are the terms which are interchangeably used. Okay, apart from being a clinical psychologist and a counseling psychologist, these are terms which are interchangeably used. There's no much of a difference. Maybe there can be certain curriculum differences. Okay, for
Can we
clinical
start?
psychologist, yeah, you need to have an MPhil. That's the only difference.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
ma'am, after like this 10 days session,
Yes,
how it
yes,
will
yes.
be helpful for us?
Can we take the questions a little later? I think people will get delayed otherwise. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
take the questions a little later.
yes, ma'am, can do that.
Okay. So I hope you have your materials ready and all. Okay, great. So today we are going to work upon one of the strategies which incorporates scribbles. I hope this is visible. My PPT.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do a quick check-in again. Like yesterday, those who were not there, we will assign a feeling number to ourselves from a 1 to a 10, 1 feeling the least pleasant, to 10 being the most pleasant. So we'll quickly check in with ourselves how we are feeling today before we start off. Maybe you can make this as a practice for your sessions, because that gives a lot of insight. So I can see a lot of 5, 7, 8, 9. Okay, great. I can see a 2, 3 also. All right, great. For me, again, it's a 7.5 maybe. Okay. So once we have noted that down, I hope you're noting down as well how you're feeling, and even the yesterday's feeling scale. Okay, great. Thank you for responding. So a quick
Uh,
recap about
Ma'am,
today.
hello.
Yes.
Sorry, ma'am, I had a question. So, ma'am, do we have to note all these numbers and all of the
Yeah.
information otherwise in the journal itself?
Yeah, I'll come to that part. Okay, I'll let you know
Okay,
how
ma'am.
you can go about doing that. Okay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so yesterday we discussed what is art therapy and what is art-based therapy and what's the scenario in India, how to go about it, and how it helps certain individuals or even in your counseling sessions. But again, a word of caution when you're taking up counseling sessions with art, make it a blend mode because only relying on art-based therapy will not work always. Okay, it might work with younger children, but not with older ones. So just be a little cautious about that. And how to get started, we discussed about an icebreaker and how you can introduce art-based therapy to your clients. Start off very easily, with certain doodles or certain brainstorming questions, and the activity which we did yesterday, which was based on the name, and that's how you can get started. It's not mandatory though that is the only way. It generally helps to build up an art journal and then proceed with the strategies later on. So today we'll be doing, basically we'll be trying different mediums in art. Then we'll go on to scribbles and we'll do one activity, which is dancing on paper. Okay, fine. So I hope you have all your art materials ready.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm minimizing my screen for the time being. I'll go back to it. We'll just explore a few art mediums. Like, how many do you know or do you have right now? If you can just put quickly in the chat. What all materials do you have right now? Since we are talking about art therapy, what all things do we have handy? Crayons, great. Sketch pens, all right. Okay, someone has got acrylic. Kosha has got acrylic colors. Okay. Brush pens. Okay. Markers, oil pastels, poster colors, charcoal pencils, glue, scissor. Great, good. Thank you for all bringing in these materials. Now, what you do is, I'm going to play a very fun music, and what you're going to do is try out these mediums one by one. Okay, whatever you have in hand. So just pick up your art journal and start working on it. Maybe you can just draw a simple scribble or some doodle, anything which comes to your mind. Right? All ready? Any confusions?
Ma'am, please repeat.
You pick up whatever art material you have, whether it's papers, whether it's glitter pens, whether it's acrylic color, whatever you have in hand, take up your sheet and just draw patches of it, swatches. Okay, if you just have crayons, it's okay. You just color in a little bit, maybe whatever is coming to your mind. You can scribble, you can draw something, you can just make one symbol or a doodle. You want to write something, you can write it with the colors. Do not use
Can we
pencil
use
at
more
this.
than one medium?
Yes, of course. Whatever medium you have in front of you, you can use all of them. You can do a blend also of that. So I've got this. Right. See, is the music audible?
No, ma'am.
No. Now?
No.
Ma'am, I always end up making flowers and leaves. Always. So, I mean, whenever I start doing any activity related to art,
Mm-hmm.
and once sometimes I also get confused which colors to pick up. And whenever I pick up anything, only every time this flower and leaf come in my mind. So, what to do?
It's okay. Just go with the flow. Do not try to analyze. Yesterday, were you present, Tanya?
No, ma'am, I was not there. I will definitely see the recording today.
Yeah, so what we need to avoid here is when we are starting with art-based therapy, we need to avoid at every cost analyzing whatever the person is doing. Okay, it will be difficult. After you learn how to analyze, it will be difficult, but you have to stop yourself from doing that. And if the client wants some clarification on that, you can always, divert it and put it across to them that how do you feel about drawing flowers or drawing leaves? How does it signify? Or what is the meaning behind it? So ask them non-directive questions rather than you telling them what the meaning could be. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, we can't hear the music.
Now,
No,
no.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Oh my god, very
Don't
weird.
worry, it's
I don't know.
okay.
Wait, let me try because music actually sets the pace.
Ma'am, you can screen share it on YouTube and then play there.
Ma'am, it was audible. Just a few seconds.
Now,
Yes.
Breaking.
No, I think.
Audible.
It's very low.
what I had done once journal.
Ma'am, it's not audible. Can you increase the volume?
Yeah, I was just talking, so I decreased the volume. So this was what I did for my art journal. So something random, and I gave it a title also, Embracing Imperfection. And then I had given myself a nickname and wrote certain adjectives.
Your voice is very low.
My voice is low. Now is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better.
it's okay.
You joined in right now. So what we are doing is trying out different color mediums, and we're just drawing certain things on paper. Nothing specific. We are just going with the flow.
Ma'am, could you please
Do this, and then we start our discussions.
Ma'am,
ma'am,
actually,
could you
the music is still
please
not audible.
ma'am, could you suggest some books on art and therapy or related to the, subject?
Ma'am, the volume of the music is not audible.
Ma'am, are we audible to you?
Hello, ma'am.
Just a second, I'll call ma'am. Just a second.
So, can we pause for some time now?
Ma'am, we couldn't hear the music.
Okay. So, someone would like to share something?
Ma'am, I guess we are not
Ma'am,
audible
I
to you.
have. I have
Oh,
completed.
I'm so glad, Mariam.
Ma'am, can you hear the voice?
I
Would
witnessed your
someone want
score
to share?
and can you see this?
Yes, yes. Wow,
And now I'm just doing this today.
great.
Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Hello.
Ma'am, I couldn't hear the music. Can you play it once again?
Oh, we don't need the music right now. We'll be just discussing. So, that's
Ma'am, I
the
couldn't
glitch
do
of,
this. That's why. Means,
yeah. That's the glitch of online classes, even if you want to do certain things, something goes wrong. I'm so sorry for it. But whenever you're doing it, it would be great if you can put on some music, but that sets the pace. And thank you all of you for sharing such lovely insights. Okay, great. Great. Okay. All right. So, how do you feel about this? What's your perception about trying out different mediums? Maybe not everyone has all the mediums, but of course, whatever you had handy. So, how did you
I
feel about it?
first use watercolors today.
Okay, that's great. All right. People who have had used a lot of different mediums, just try to figure out which one you took up first. Okay, whether it's a sketch pen, whether it's a watercolor, whether it's crayons, which one you took up first. So you can maybe note it down that which medium does the client or you yourself has taken up. And after trying out all of them, which one did you find it most comfortable or convenient, if I have to place it? I generally love using watercolor, but it becomes a lot difficult when you just want to quickly go up and do something, kind of went out somewhere. You need brushes, you need water, you need those tubes where you need to put it on the palette and then work on it. So preferably my convenience would be either sketch pens or pencil colors or crayons.
I
So
really like to use pencils, normal pencils, because it doesn't
Mhm.
need anything. Just you need a paper and your pen, do
Absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. So a quick scribble, maybe a quick drawing, most comfortable with crayons. You will notice that each one of us has different affinity towards different mediums. We find it much more convenient that way. Some will say crayon, some will say sketch pens. So for each of these swatches which you have made, try to figure out which one was the most comforting and which one was the least comforting. You can keep a record of it. Maybe on the sheet itself, you can write that this was the most comforting to me. Even if you did not have access right away, what you can do is later on also do the same activity at home with the different varieties of paints available, and then see how you are taking to it. If you're setting up your counseling room, try to keep at least one set of each medium. That gives a lot of variety. And another pointer here is, do not impose to your client, avoid doing that, that you can start off with crayons. Do not say that. Just lay the material in front of them. Whatever they want to use, they can just pick up and start working.
Ma'am, do we also analyze with the choice of what medium they have actually picked up?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
When to use what? Okay, when to use what generally happens, but in the initial sessions, just let them pick and choose. In fact, in most of the session, they will pick and choose as per their will. You're not going to impose anything. But yes, just keep a note as to what medium they are taking up, because that also has an implication as to how they go about things.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll briefly touch upon that. So are we done with the first part? Yeah.
Ma'am, if we are comfortable with two mediums, is that possible?
Yes, yes, of course. It is possible.
Like I found watercolors are soothing, as I make mandalas, so I found color pens as well, so vibrant.
Absolutely. But just keep in mind that whenever you're working with someone, you're doing certain activities, do not tell them what to use, at least for the first few sessions. Later on, you can always suggest, but do not force anything. Avoid forcing any medium. And why I'm discussing mediums, because that has a lot of. What's the recurring pattern?
Ma'am, how is this? Like it
Oh
is.
God, yeah, lovely. How do you feel about it, Kosha?
I feel very happy.
That works then. Okay. So I'll just briefly go through what is what. Basically, crayons are the easiest. If you can't find any of these art materials which you can keep, you can always keep crayons handy and pencil colors handy. So those are the two easiest things which you can keep it. They are very cheap also. You don't need to invest too much of it. Followed by sketch pens and watercolors. Acrylic and glass colors come way later into the counseling sessions, because that can become very messy. Okay, because when you start off, try to use only crayons and color pencils. Ask them if they would be comfortable to bring in their color mediums into the session. That would be great. If not, then you can always start off with just pencil colors, crayons, and simple sketch pens sets. Now, each of these has some traits, or what do I say, certain characteristics which may come up through their work. Crayons basically will not layer any colors. I mean by layering is, if you put, say, a black, you cannot blend in properly some other color. So a black is a black. Or maybe if you're using blue, if you want to make it green, you may blend yellow, but other colors won't work out very well. But at the same time, this particular medium is very quick and it easily covers up the page. Okay, so it's a very good way of starting off with art based therapy, because many of the clients will be restless, many of them will be anxious to start off, many of them will not be very enthusiastic about starting off. So they want something quick and effective. So what you can do is give them page, give them to scribble with crayons, which has a very soft feel to the person who's working on. So those who have worked with crayons right now, how did you feel about it? If you can give your inputs. Comfortable.
Crayons are very smooth to what we are doing.
Yes, smooth to handle, comfortable to handle, easily glides on. Any
Yeah.
other inputs? Yeah.
Give us
So
control.
that comfort thing comes up with crayons, and it also associates you with your childhood. Those memories of handling crayons and the texture and how softly it blends into the paper. So it's a great way to start off.
I
Now,
actually had a lot of difficulty in choosing which color should I take in crayons.
yeah, color analysis we'll do a little later, maybe a few days later. We'll do a few parts of color analysis also, but not right away. Don't judge your color picking. Okay, we'll talk about it a little later. Sorry. Now we come to the color pencils. Now this is great for small spaces, where you need to fill up like mandalas and rectangles and maybe certain coloring pages. Some small spaces, it's great for picking up color pencils and doing lighter shades rather than darker shades. Now, a pattern comes up in aggressive clients or those who are very angry inside. They will generally pick up dark colors and crayons, and then they'll just, dab it on the paper, or they'll take poster colors, heavy ones, and then dab it on the paper. But for color pencils, you will see more of the anxious patterns coming up. They'll be very light shades, people who are picking up these. You may just check in with their anxiety levels. Okay, maybe you can probe certain areas into which you're finding out how they are coloring. Is it very faint? Is it very dark? Generally, people with anxiety issues, with low self-confidence, with certain insecurities, they generally pick up color pencils and they'll do very light shadings. Okay, so but this also has greater control where they feel more comfortable with themselves. Okay, not with the medium as such, because pencils are hard to touch, but getting gradual control over themselves without much revelation. So you can try out, you can maybe suggest that yes, you may use color pencils if you are filling up small areas. You may suggest that, but never impose. It depends on the client what they want to take up. Next, watercolors are a great way of catharsis. If you really want someone to express and vent out heavily, you can always give them or suggest them watercolors, not poster colors though. Watercolors basically are quick to dissolve, it's flowy, it has that free flowing nature, it has that fluid nature which enables you to, just be free with yourself. But, a word of caution here, people who are already very overwhelmed, they cannot get hold of themselves, watercolor may induce further free flowing state, so that won't be very useful at that juncture. So maybe you can ask them to shift to sketch pens where you need more rigidity, more composure, or maybe safely use crayons with them. Okay, if you see these symptoms in a person, try and avoid watercolors. Those who can become very overwhelming for the person. But maybe after a heavy session, say you have discussed a lot of things, you can just give them a few tubes of watercolor, or those cakes which you get, which gets easily dissolved with the brush, and then ask them to just glide through the paper, use their fingers to dab in and then paint something. Okay, when we are doing the nature workshop a few days later, I'll be talking about natural colors also, which you can easily get around. Okay, so that can also come handy. Poster colors are somewhat harsh and bold on the surface. So people who are indecisive, those who have difficulty in taking up decisions, or those who are gullible, maybe they can use these bold, matte colors to fill in blocks, fill in certain areas in the painting or whatever they're working on, or maybe using collages on top of it, they can use poster colors, which becomes very bold and conspicuous. So if you have large spaces to fill up, you can easily use poster colors. Now, sketch pens, it's generally avoided. Okay, we do not encourage using sketch pens. Apart from the scribbling activities, sketch pens are generally used for bolding out or heading or outlining. All these different mediums of approaches are used through sketch pens, but not for coloring. Why? Because if you color on a paper with sketch pens, it shows up on the other side. It may blotch the paper, and you will not get definition, appropriate responses from the person. And it takes a lot of time to fill in certain large spaces. It looks very clumsy and cluttered. So at every cost, avoid sketch pens. But again, keep it in mind that if a person wants to use sketch pens more often, it may reflect some kind of rigidity which the person is holding on to for a very long period of time. So there can be aggression issues, there can be certain remorses, there can be certain assertiveness problems, okay, or too much of logical thoughts in that person. So try to look out for these also.
Ma'am, can I just ask a little thing right
Yes.
here, if I may?
Yes.
As you just said that there are sometimes very much logical thoughts behind choosing some medium or something color like that.
Mhm.
What does that show? That the mind is not sync in with the like thoughts, or what? Like I'm
Which
not.
one? You're talking about sketch pens?
Yes, sketch
If it
pens.
is overused, it may it may reflect rigidity in the person. The person has drawn a lot of concrete things around him or her. Okay, maybe boundary setting is very strong for the person. Boundary setting is very helpful, but not to that extent that the person blocks everyone and everything. Okay, too much of boldness is also not very good, so that's what we are looking into. If it is overwhelming, if you see that every session or every time the person is just picking up sketch pens and drawing or coloring, even after your suggestions they are avoiding that and they are just hooking on to sketch pens. So in that case we have these indicators. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Acrylic colors and glass colors are difficult to handle. Acrylic colors can be given to people who are less confident about themselves and taking up certain projects which you are doing in the sessions. Why? Because acrylic colors can layer up. Once it dries, you can layer up. It can cover all the mistakes. If they feel that they have done some error, you can always give them space to layer up. Okay, so acrylic can be very useful, but at the same time very messy. So just a word of caution here. If you can suggest the person to bring in their materials, it would be great, because keeping acrylic colors in your room will be very cumbersome. And glass colors are hardly used because then you have to handle glass and be very careful with it. But if you get options, if your client is comfortable again bringing in the material, that would be helpful for you. Glass colors are used in the advanced stages where they have become accustomed with all the art material. And then when they feel very confident that, yes, I can do a piece of thing which I can keep it in my house or gift it to someone. And then you can work on it. And these glass colors need a lot of precision. So once you see that your client is becoming confident in that, it's a good indicator that the client has taken control over everything. Whatever is happening, they've got composure and control. And that needs a lot of attention as well. Okay, so if you want to bring in a lot of focus, attention, you can always start off with coloring with crayons. I'll be showing you one activity today where you can build in concentration, where you can build in focus, where you can build in a lot of patience in individuals who are coming for counseling. If you see these traits in them. This also works great with children, so I'll go part by part. Okay, any questions at this juncture?
Yes, ma'am,
I
I
have
have a question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tell
Ma'am,
me.
can we include sketch pencils, like sketching
Sorry?
pencil? Sketching pencils, ma'am, pencil.
Yes. Absolutely. You can use, but when we are doing color psychology, a little bit of it, we'll talk about not taking up colors also has certain indicators. Okay, if it is
Okay.
recurring that you're only using black and white, okay, only using pencils rather than using colors, that also has some certain indicators which you may note down at that point.
Ma'am, are we going to discuss about that?
Yes, we will. When we are doing the color your life activity.
I
Okay,
generally
ma'am.
use
I prefer using pencils because it gives multiple shades. Yeah, like you can use a pencil and it can give multiple shades. So that is why I asked about it, whether it can be included or not. So yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yes. It can be. Yes, of course it can be.
Okay, thank
But
you.
whenever you're going for art-based, activities, just suggest them that it's better to avoid pencils. You can directly work with colors.
Okay.
Okay, because that breaks the barrier of being perfect. So most of us, when they come, most of the clients who come in, they have certain low self-esteem issues, certain self-esteem issues where they feel very conscious about themselves. So the activity which I'll be sharing right now can be an icebreaker.
Okay.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have one question. So you
Yes.
said we can avoid the watercolors with the people who are overwhelming, right? So do we suggest them, because you said we don't suggest them, we just put the materials in front of them and we ask them to choose it. So how to just face that situation? We
See,
knew that they're most overwhelming
right,
person.
right. See, what I'm trying to say here is you, in the first place, when you are starting off with rapport building and counseling sessions, you're not going to right away start with watercolors because
Mm-hmm.
that's very cumbersome. Okay, you have to bring a pot with water and brushes and this. It's a very formal setting. So what I
Mm-hmm.
meant was use simple colors, crayons, color pencils, and all these sketch pens, which can be easily picked up and done with.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, and why certain individuals will feel watercolors are overwhelming because it needs a lot of hard work into it. The arrangement also. Like for instance, if you have some patients who have depression who are coming to you and talking, they will
Mm-hmm.
not have that energy to invest. They
Yeah,
would like something very quick. Okay,
yeah.
so when you're working through with the client, maybe 2, 3 sessions into your counseling, you can always suggest that you can use and try it out. You can see how you feel about it. Okay, do
Understood.
a quick check-in that how are you feeling after doing working for some. It's called sampling. When you work on this, the one which you did right now was sampling
Mm-hmm.
different mediums. So you can always suggest that see how you feel about it. Why don't you just glide your brush and see how you feel about it. If they are rigid, not using it, do not go ahead with it.
I have one question. If the
Yes.
person have all the mediums, but they generally use fine liners or like they just make black and white, it's mandala kind of thing
Yeah.
always. So what does like
See,
that?
indications cannot be only based on whether they use liners or some colors. You can always suggest them that you have been using liners for quite some time now. I feel it's beautiful, but what about trying out other mediums? You can place it this way. See how they respond.
I mean, like they just use only black color on the
Yeah, we'll
white
talk
base,
about it.
no other
We'll talk
color.
about it when we are doing colored psychology part.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Right
Ma'am,
now, we're not discussing any color implications. We're just talking about the mediums, which I briefly discussed with you all.
ma'am,
Yes.
so I have one doubt. If the client has choose multiple medium, like she wanted to do one of the things in poster color and another one things is in the acrylic colors and another one color is the pencils. So what we decide for the client?
It's okay. It doesn't matter whether they have, today I might feel like just working with crayons. Tomorrow I might feel like working with watercolor. But I'll just show you a record, how to keep a record of the mediums which they are using. If you see a recurring pattern, that might indicate certain aspects of the person. Okay. So,
Ma'am, I just have a question.
yes, go.
So, ma'am, while we are creating rapport, uh,
Yes,
so
bolo.
in that case, what other mediums would do? I mean, can we give like adult coloring book pages or mandala
Yes,
pages to
yes,
the client
of course. Whichever
in rapport?
works. See, every
Yeah.
individual have a different approach. Someone will
Okay.
be very enthusiastic. Okay, it's art-based thing. I'm really very excited. Let me see how it works out. Okay. Some other person
Okay.
might think, okay, art, I don't know how I'm going to go about it. I'm really pathetic at it.
So then
So,
coloring would do like normal.
yes, of course. You
Simple.
can start with scribbles. You can start with the letter, the first letter of your name. These things generally resonate with clients. Even if you have
Okay,
very
ma'am.
logical people who are coming in, you
Yeah.
have a difficult time convincing them to take up art-based techniques, but you don't have to name them as art-based techniques. You can just slip in. Well, why don't you just scribble and see how you feel about it? Okay, so also how you put across also
Okay.
is a skill which you need to learn in your counseling
Yeah.
when you're taking up counseling. Okay, so
Okay.
for your assignment, what you do is the mediums which you have taken up. It would be great if you try all your mediums and how you feel about it. What's your feeling associated with it? Okay, whether you liked it, whether there was certain insights into how you went about it, uh, whether it was easy to handle, whether it was difficult, whether you did not like using it. You just put it in your own way. Okay. And when you are recording the same thing with your client, like how did you feel using this watercolor? If they say it was totally amazing, that means they are comfortable using it. They're becoming comfortable using it. Some might say that no, I'm not very comfortable using this particular medium. I somewhere did not feel right. Okay, I'm feeling very restless. Okay, so what you do is follow up with a short relaxation technique at that juncture. So checking in with their feelings is important after they use certain heavy mediums. Okay, so make this as a record for
Ma'am,
yourself.
can we use digital art for this?
Yes, digital art again is very different from doing it hands-on. Okay, I'll talk about it a little later.
Okay.
Collages, craft, and all those things, clay modeling, all these are hands-on things which use a lot of senses when you're working on. But digital art is only reflecting your mind. Basically, there's no cutting, pasting, you're just working on your digital platform. Okay, I'll talk about it a little later. Now, this one, the journal entry matrix, you can keep a record of this. If you want to take a screenshot of this, you can take up. So we have these different domains: the activity, what we were doing, the date, the the mood check-in when we started off with the session, the mood check-in when we ended the session. Then whatever major symbols are coming up, you can just pen it down. You don't need to find meaning right now, as I've already discussed. Then the next column would be personal meanings, like how do you feel about the flower, how do you feel about the leaf, how do you feel about these waves, how do you feel about the sun. Okay, so you write your personal meanings to it. Okay, whatever you feel is appropriate or whatever you feel you can relate to. And then you write down your reflections, like what would colorful mean to me, or what would being too logical mean to me, or what can I do about it? Certain brainstorming questions which we did yesterday. Okay, so this would be your matrix for all of these days which you can work on. So just keep a log of it, maybe end of the journal, or if you want to write down somewhere separately in one sheet, you can always do this work. Okay, so this would be your assignment, like a regular assignment which we are keeping a record of.
Can you share the matrix template to us, please?
Yes, I'll do that after the class.
Okay.
Okay, now we'll start off with one of the exercises which I wanted to share in this session. It's basically based on scribbles, and it's like a free-flowing exercise which you can all take up. And basic applications are, it has an instant calming effect. It kind of brings you together and lets you focus your mind on something. And it helps in removing anxiety because the concept is more about here and now. And also people who have this perennial problem of being perfect, that also gets reduced to a large extent, because if it's just a scribble, it can be imperfect. Okay, so it has a metaphorical meaning to it also, and you can explain it to your clients that scribble cannot be good or bad. Scribble is a scribble, so you can set that pace in that way and start off the session. And scribbling also helps in bringing about neural changes to the right side of your brain, which enables you to think more clearly and with more of creative ideas. Yes? Somebody had a question?
Ma'am, is the scribbles used in OCD, like you mentioned about perfectionism and anxiety?
See, OCD, used in OCD would be a little challenging, but yes, of course, you can set the pace into the counseling session. If you have certain patients who are coming up with OCD traits, you can always start off this simple activity. That has certain meanings which the person can take away with, but of course, this will not get rid of OCD if you're thinking like that. Okay, that might just keep them in that pace of thinking that yes, I'm doing certain things which I have control, at the same time it is not perfect. Okay, so that can be a metaphorical implication. So this particular technique, what you need to do is just pick up a sheet of paper or whatever you have in handy, take up your color medium, any medium, leaving watercolors. You can use pencils, you can use crayons, you can use color pencils, you can use sketch pens, and just scribble anything on the paper. Scribble is a scribble. You don't need to think anything. Just let the pen or pencil glide through.
Ma'am, can brush pens be used for the purpose?
Sorry, Kosha?
Can brush pens be used?
Yes, brush pens also. Scribbles are supposed to be very hard, very rough, very disorganized. So while they are doing, maybe you can, talk about it. It can be round, it can be circles, it can be straight, it can be just, filling up the page. Here also you can put some energetic music. I can send you a few MP3s which you can use appropriately at different settings. So this one generally calls for some energy music. Let me see if it will be audible. Sure.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I just wanted to ask, is there any group or something that I'm not added to it and I just
We have a Telegram group.
okay, okay, okay.
So I'll send in the mail. Okay, I'll send across in the mail itself.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
This shouldn't take much time because you can just give a minute to work on. Okay. And then you should be done with it.
Ma'am.
Can you see what I did? It's just a mess on the paper.
Ma'am?
Yes, Adrita?
Completed.
Okay, great. So this is how our scribbles look like. So imperfect, and someone has doodled also. That's great. So each of our scribbles are perfect in its own ways because it's supposed to be scribbles only. Okay, so how are you feeling about it? Let's check in with this. How did you feel when you did that? While you were engaging in that?
I feel like flying, so I drew a hot air balloon.
Okay, great. So you can just log in your entry there, okay, while you're done. Happy, unwinding my thoughts. Okay, great.
Ma'am, in past scribbles have helped me to like channelize my anger. I think it helps.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I was coming to that. So if someone has this rigidity issues or anger issues, even anxiety, it works great. If you just let them scribble, put on some loud, energetic music, and then just let them scribble, put their heart out into it. Yes, it increases focus also. So you can suggest your students, if you have younger generation coming to you for counseling, you can always suggest them that before you start off with your studies, you can do this quick 1-minute exercise, which is simple to use, simple to carry on. and you feel a lot of relief after this, and focus also increases because there are constant neural changes which are happening when you're scribbling. Why so? Because we are not worried about being perfect. Okay, we are letting loose. We are not being judged for anything. So that releases a lot of our stress from the body, the physical stress from our arms. Okay, tomorrow there will be a short description about the physiological of stress, because it's very important to know how stress actually works on us and why do we need to do such went out exercises. Okay, if you are unable to carry on with physical exercises, it is important that we do something hands on. Okay, something which we can touch, something which we can vent out our energy on. Okay, the next thing, this thing which you have done uh, does not depict anything, but if any symbols have come up, you can always write it down. But we are generally not looking into symbols for this particular scribble activity. Okay, the next thing which we'll be doing is, if you want to switch on your video, it's fine. If you don't want to, it's up to you. I'll be playing some music. I hope it is audible. You have to move yourself with that, okay? You don't need to switch on your videos. If you want to, you're most welcome. But you just need to get up and get going. Okay? All right?
Ma'am, can you please repeat it?
What I said was, for the next part of it, I would like you all to just get up, maybe switch off your camera if you're conscious about things. Switch off your camera and you can just get up or sit and groove to the music which I'm sharing with you. All right? So the next part is dancing on paper. But yes, of course, you will not dance on paper literally, but do a little bit of dancing and then come back.
Cabinets go zero water damage.
1 second. The ad is playing. Just let me know if the music is audible or not. Is it?
No, ma'am, it's not.
It's still not. Now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to share the screen. Okay, in the meanwhile, you can just keep one paper ready with you, because we are going to wrap up the session with that particular activity. And there will be a short assignment. Is it audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, it is audible.
So just groove to the music, whatever music you have, just let yourself loose and just move to the music, that's all. Okay, so any feedback as to how you felt grooving to it?
Very happy.
Very happy. What about others?
When
Pleasant and
I'm doing
energetic.
Energetic, yes. Okay,
when I'm
so
doing the scribbling, I want to be go to bed. I need to be to sleep. That feelings I had it when I complete my the scribbling. Once I finished it and I listen this song, this music. The first music I want to be dance with someone. Then second music, I want to enjoy myself.
okay, great. That's great. You feel alive if you have certain, peppy music going on. So maybe you can start off with your session with a little bit of happy music and then set the pace for the rest of it. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to call squibble activity. Okay, it doesn't need much of materials, too many materials. What we need is just a sheet of paper and any coloring medium. It can be crayons, it can be sketch pens, pencil colors. Avoid pencils at this juncture, but if someone wants is hell bent on using pencils, you can go ahead. So what you do is just take up your sheet and I'll play the music again. And what you need to do is just glide your pen or pencil like this, any which way, not as a scribble, but basically glide your pen and make patterns on it. I'll just share my screen and show you one sample. We'll quickly do this. This is part of your scribbles. Okay, can you see the screen? This particular image is just a squibble. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yeah, this one, this particular one. Yes. The one which I just bordered right now. Okay, so something similar. It need not be the exact replica. There can be harsh lines, there can be straight lines also, but try not to lift any any of your pen or pencils. Okay, so take any one color, any color you want to, and then just glide through it at one go. Try not to lift up your pen or pencil. Okay, are you ready then?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a minute. It would be just for 30 seconds approximately. So just quickly scribble it. it's done. Okay, there's no hard and fast rule. You have to do it for that amount of time. So I'm done with mine. It shouldn't take more than this amount of time. So are we done? Okay, great. Okay, someone has drawn boxes also. Okay, flowers. Wow, wonderful. Okay, so this is your squibble. And now the
Ma'am, see
next
mine
part.
as well.
Yes, sorry.
See mine as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you, all of you, for sharing. Lovely. Okay, so how are you feeling now? This is a little different from a scribble. Scribble is something which is roundish and it has more structure to it. Scribble is just going on and on. Sharmi has drawn circles, 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 and something I can see.
Yes, ma'am.
I can tell you what I can see. You have to tell me. Okay.
What was different to the first activity and this one?
What do you feel, Bam? How do you feel
And
about
it
it?
is more
Did you have any
structured than
comments?
first one.
Sorry?
It is more structured than previous one.
Yes. Squibble is more structured in the sense there's a free flowing thing where you are not, putting out your anger onto the paper. Scribbles are more like without any judgment, you are just scribbling. You're taking out everything possible on the paper. Squibble is more in a relaxed way, you're going through the paper. Okay, that's the difference. Mariam is painting in. Okay, that was supposed to be the next step. Okay, she's already started. So now the next step, what you need to do is look at your paper. Okay, look at the paper and see the first thing which arises, some form which is, coming up on the paper. Something which is surfacing on the paper. And color out that area or border out that area. Maybe you can do the coloring a little later. Take up any color of your choice and see anything meaningful which is coming out of this particular squibble. It can be a letter, it can be some form of an object, it can be anything.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Ma'am, my scribble is looking like flying elephant
Yes,
and
absolutely. Doesn't matter. It may. Just color in that part. And I'll share my screen again.
Ma'am, I was able to see some figure in my scribble.
Yeah. Just
So
color out that area.
I'll okay.
Just need to color out that area. So you can see here someone has colored out a heart over here. The person could see hearts, the other person could see certain buildings and clouds, some other person could see a face somewhere. So it may not be a perfect one. Okay, if you look at the black and white, if I have to tell you, I can see a prestel, that sweet meat which we get. I can see that. Someone may say that I can see a teardrop or a dewdrop. Someone can say that I can see an S over there. So in your creation, whatever you have done, whatever comes to you first, I can clearly see an S here. In my squibble, I can see an S. S and I can see. I'll show you. I've colored out this part. Someone says they have drawn a heart. I can see a nose as well. That you can color later, but the first one is of significance, and we'll be centering our introspective questions around it. I can also see a P over here. I could relate to an S. I could not relate to the nose and the P, which I need to think about while I'm writing the questions. Okay, so here comes the reflection questions. After you've colored out the part, you take your time and do it. But since we need to wrap up within the next 5 minutes, I'm just hurrying up with this. So the reflections would be, how did you feel when you were gliding through the paper? Like, what all thoughts came to your mind and how was it significant? Were you actually thinking about something? So if it crossed your mind, write that down in your log. Which part of the paper you generally started off or you have drawn on with? Is it the middle, or is it towards the top part or the bottom part or towards the edges? Okay, what were the symbols which surfaced? For me, I can write an S, a nose, and a P. For you, also write down those symbols. How would you describe them? What all adjectives you are using? Do not think much. Whatever comes naturally to you, you can assign them to the adjectives and the symbols, whatever you have in hand. And how do you feel about these symbols? You know, as I told you, I know what S means for me, but P and nose, I have no clue, so I need to ponder over it. I do not know why I, came up with these. And after assigning the adjectives, how do you feel about those adjectives? And does it align with some recurring personality characteristics of yours? Okay, and within you? Or is it in any possible way related to someone or something which arises your conflicts? Okay, and if you want to change anything on the paper, what would it be and why? If you see, I have drawn a straight line towards the end. If you ask me, I would like to change that, because I feel it's looking very odd, these two straight lines. Okay, then I need to introspect why I need to change those two straight lines. And you need to put a title for your work. Whatever work you have done, you need to put a title for this. So I'll just copy paste these questions and send you in the chat so that you can keep a record of it. And or maybe I can send you through the Telegram group. Okay, so these are reflective questions which you can engage in, or you can ask your clients to engage in. You are not going to give your analysis. You're just going to handhold the person and take them through these questions. Okay, these are open questions which they can ask themselves. Put a title on this. While you're working on it, some other thing can also come up, as I can see a human being holding something on her hand. And I would like to make this as a focus. So my title would be holding on.
Ma'am, if there is something that you cannot find like in your scribble, does that mean you should do it again, or you still
No.
should keep introspecting?
Whenever you are comfortable finding symbols, okay, it is okay. It may not be that at the first go only you'll have to find something. You just keep looking at it time and again and see if you can, something surfaces. As in when you go about this entire scribble, it can be just one single thing which you came across. Generally, the first one is of significance, followed by the others. Or it can be multiple of things which are there.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, yeah, I saw that it's almost like SS. So what is presenting? I am not understanding about it.
Try to go through these questions first. Okay,
Okay.
you will definitely get your answers. Go through
Okay,
these
okay.
questions one by one. Since we are not doing it because it's a long term thing, it will take a lot of time to reflect on. It might take you around half an hour. So after this workshop, or maybe tomorrow, before we start off with the next session, you can just introspect on these questions.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Ma'am, I just have a question. So, ma'am, it is related to the art therapy field. So, ma'am, actually, I am a professionally a painting artist, and like I'm currently doing my masters in psychology. I've completed my bachelor's in psych. So, like I would like to move forward with counseling psychology as a career, and also included art therapy. Ma'am, I have actually done ample of courses in art therapy, like along with Emojar and besides it too. So, ma'am, in that case, can I call myself later while I practice an art therapy practitioner, or I will have to do a diploma course?
You have to do a diploma.
Okay.
Diploma is required for this. Since diplomas are
Ma'am, can we
long.
leave?
So we are moving on. So after you reflect on these questions, you put a title, you log in to whatever was shared with you. This particular slide was shared with you. Please keep a log of this and see how you're feeling about the entire thing. Okay, and certain things which come up, you can always log in, you can always keep a record of it. So we'll do a wrap up check-in again. How are you feeling right now? And were there any differences in your mood? We'll do a quick wrap up. I'm at an 8 right now. What about y'all? Okay, from 4 to 7. That's wonderful.
I almost started feeling low. I feel like I'm too much thinking now and I'm not able to produce anything.
Yes, so you can see a major drastic change from yesterday's to today's. So keep a
Yeah,
log
that's
of
true.
this and reflect as to why you're feeling low. Okay, what made you feel low?
Okay, thank you.
Because see, these are introspective, what happens in counseling sessions, even in art-based therapy, you might escalate to a level and then certain realizations takes place. Okay, and then you again root down and then work on it. The therapist will aid you to work on those realizations and then again gradually move up the scale again. That's why we do a quick check-in every time.
Oh, it is not related to the session right now, but somewhere it is. So, can I just share something with you, ma'am?
Yes, please.
Uh,
Can we
as
just do it after we wrap up? Maybe you can stay
Huh,
back and talk about it.
sure.
Yeah.
I can wait.
So for your assignment, do check in with this. This will give you a lot of insight as to what is actually going on right now and what your conflict areas are. Okay, so if you're able to work through those questions, or if you have any other questions in mind as we discuss, you can always go ahead with it. For tomorrow, before we end up, please bring 10 items, one bag, maybe a plastic bag or some kind of a bag, and 10 items of various shapes and sizes. Okay.
Ma'am, could you elaborate various sizes as in?
You can have a stone, you can have a paperweight, you can have a book, you can have
Okay, got it, ma'am. Yeah, got it. Different
any
materials.
objects, yes,
Yeah.
of various shapes and sizes. So do
Ma'am?
work on these reflection questions. And just a note, on Friday, we are having this particular workshop on the garden adventure. This is basically an art-based storytelling technique in counseling. Those who are interested, I'll drop a link in the chat and even in this thing, the Telegram group. You can go and check it out. If you're interested, you can enroll into it.
Ma'am,
So,
what
ma'am,
do
on
we have to do in
Friday,
there?
It's a paid workshop, by the way. It's not a free workshop. So if those who are interested, you can just, pay the amount and join in. We'll add you in the group.
so ma'am, on Friday we'll not have this particular workshop.
On Friday, we are not having this workshop. Tomorrow you have. Tomorrow
Okay.
you'll have a class. Then again on Saturday and Sunday. And then proceeding with that.
Tomorrow same time, ma'am?
Same time tomorrow.
Ma'am, I had a request.
Can we leave now?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, can you Can you please upload the recordings on the very same day, or maybe at least in the morning itself?
Actually, what happens? This is such a heavy file. It takes a lot of time.
Okay, ma'am.
I'll try to. Okay, I'll just try to do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, what are the timings for this Friday workshop?
Friday workshop. Just a minute. Let me check. I think it's from 6 or 6:30. No, 7 to 8:30.
Okay.
7 to 8:30.
Ma'am, when I'm starting with the doodling to until